Is it recording?
Yeah.
No, I'm blessed.
Oh, yeah, we just cut that out.
What's happening, people? Welcome to episode 317 of the Free Shots Tequila podcast with myself, Marvin Abbey. Who else we got in the studio?
Mr. Exposed.
And Tazer Black.
And we got a very, very special guest in the studio, a legend. Can you let us know your name and where you're from, brother?
It's me, DC Dwain Chambers, bro.
Man, like, you know.
Yeah. North London, born, Archway. Partington Close, N19, 3DZ.
That's what the old postcode is.
No, the whole
So you know,
postcode.
man, don't live there, no.
No more. I've moved away.
So I was going to go there and lock the door. You know?
You can't find me there.
I'm going to say, hey, Dwain live here.
Who?
Nah.
Not no more.
So let's kick it off, man. So the funny thing is I spoke to my brother Matthew, innit? And we have a lot of similar interests. And I was like, yo, Dwain Chambers is coming on the episode. And it was like, Dwain? I was like, yeah, and we were talking about it. And we were like, in regards to athletics, at one point in time, there's certain names you remember or that were poster boys, and like you're one of the poster boys. Like when you think about Linford Christie, think about Colin Jackson,
Darren Campbell.
Darren, not in a rude way, like let me not part Darren Campbell, but it's like because it. Remember, you think about like sprinters that looked a certain way, and because Dwain was kind of
Yeah.
go-to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was like man them. You were like it was hench in it. So you remember Linford Christie, obviously Colin Jackson. Then obviously you got like the white people like Redgrave, people like that. But I remember Dwain. So when the thing happened with the doping, and that, it was a shock. It was like, right, what's happened? Because I was young when it happened. I didn't remember what exactly was going on. But I knew something had happened, do you know what I'm saying? So we can just start with that. I mean, in terms of like, or even let's start with your background first, in terms of how you got into athletics, and then we'll get into whatever after.
Well, like I said, illustrated, I was born in North London. Grew up with my mum, stepdad, and two younger sisters. Didn't really see my dad much, and that's a typical story you hear amongst most blacks. So my dad was around, but weren't really around. So I spent a lot of time being the despondent stepchild because me and my stepdad didn't get along.
Okay.
So I guess every time he saw me, he saw my dad. So I grew up in a very hostile environment. Like, we got broke up, like battered for everything. And more so from my stepdad and not my dad.
Yeah.
So situations arose, many occasions where my dad would come round and say, does he hit you? And I had to say, no.
You don't want to cause...
So I'd done it, A, to defend myself, protect myself, but also my mum and my sisters. Because I just knew if that happened, the backlash on me and my mum would just be long. I just didn't want to go through no more physical abuse at the time. So I built up a coping mechanism for myself to just lie. So that went on for a number of years, and I just got to a stage I was like, as you get older, you think you know, and I'm 16, 17. You think you know it all. So I just said to my mum, look, I'm leaving. Which was hard for me to do because I wasn't ready for the big world. But at the same time, I realised me and him and my stepdad weren't getting on, and I wanted to move on. So I eventually moved out. But during this time, I started to build up a slight name for myself on the track, like running. So my career picked up at Finsbury Park. And my only saving grace was my coach at the time, Selwyn Filbert, who would religiously come and knock on my door and say, come to training. That was my only way out the door because my parents would not allow us out. They were too embarrassed of my stepdad saying, no, but I bring no police at my yard. Like, I had to deal with that.
All the time.
All of that. So you kind of get annoyed by it because we never ever learned. We never had parents sit down and talk to us and teach us life. We were just always taught the harsh way of dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
So that in itself, without me realising, built up a chip and a resistance on my shoulder. Without me realising, I was just turning to Bruce Banner, just angry all the time. So hence when you're talking about how I used to look angry and aggressive, I was always screwful. I was just always in that angry mode. But I couldn't see the reflection. I just didn't ever look in the mirror to see how I was looking. So as I got more and more angry, my stepdad, aggressive, I moved out, but my career started to pick up. So I'm telling you this because it's going to put it into perspective. So as my career was picking up, my past was coming to meet me. So I became more and more popular on the track, started to win races, started to get a little bit more popular. And before I knew it, I'd gone from been a kid locked in his room for years. Like when my stepdad would come home, my mum would say, "Go upstairs, he's coming." We'd go and hide, me and my sisters. So there was a lot of that. And before I knew it, within 2 years of me, my coach coming to effectively rescue me from the torture of our house, I became the fastest kid in the world.
Yeah, so that 1999, innit? Championships.
So think about the whole planet. There's 7 billion people. I was the fastest person on the planet.
And that must have been just insane.
So you go from nothing to that. There's been no prep. There's been no education on money.
Nothing.
How do you deal with the media? I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. It also got to a stage where I was earning more money than my parents, so I wasn't having conversation with them about money management. Yeah. I'd gone from doing paper rounds, earning what, £2 to earning over 200 grand a year. So when I see a lot of these young footballers and just earning all this dough and they're just spending it and just going wild, I get it, because no one's there to kind of educate them. Because they're being surrounded by people who are poorly educated themselves. Yeah.
And a bunch of yes men as well.
And that too. So, and everyone's trying to please everyone. You know, everyone wants to just jump on the bandwagon. When someone's rich and famous, they just want to jump on what they got. Yeah. So, fortunately, I had, a lot of my young friends that grew up in the manor, Face, Gally, Davis, a couple of my boys that have been there lifelong. So, when I was nothing, they were there. When I was something, they were there. When I dropped down and was buried alive, they were there. So, they would be my bona fides to the END. But I eventually got to a stage where I was earning more money than I could handle. And then, obviously, agents get involved, solicitors get involved. And then you're not thinking for yourself no more. You're just doing things to please other people. Now, I'm talking retrospectively and bringing you back because the person I am now, if I ever got that opportunity again, and I don't say if, when I get the opportunity again, I'll be smarter with what I do. Yeah. So I'm heavily into educating my kids. So whenever opportunities come in, money comes in the house, I put my conversations on loudspeaker so they can hear the conversation that we're having. Because whenever money was spoken about in our house, get out the room. Yeah. This is not for you, this is grown people's business. But if I was involved in the room, I would have been a lot more wiser.
Yeah, 100%.
So, obviously, people with their motives and objectives came in, started to manage my money. I'll be earning this. When I need this, this is gone. So I'm saying this just openly, but I'm not pointing any fingers. So things would just start going missing. Then I understood when you're in that world, managers do what they got to do to earn. You're just the puppet. They pull the strings. When they say jump, you jump. Wherever you go, they say go, you go. So I didn't understand that at the time. So again, I started to progress in my career. And along that way, there was more fame, there was more women, there was more drugs, there was more alcohol. All that comes part and parcel with it. Yeah. And if you're not educated enough or have the right voice talking to you, you're just going to crack on, which is what I did. Now, don't get me wrong. Along the way, I had a good set of people around me. Like Mike McFarlane was one of my bona fide coaches that I'm still very good with. He was Commonwealth champion at the time, Commonwealth medalist at the time. So he was, at the time, the only black role model that was trying to do his best to support me. Yeah. But now I've become an adult and I saw the struggle he was going through. He was doing his best to support himself and his family. Yeah. So I was a pathway for him to get himself back up the ladder. He may criticize me for saying this, but I may have been a way out, to help him. But I didn't think about it that way. I was just looking at myself. This is where I want to go. This is what the agent's telling me I've got to do to get there. And whereas Mike McFarlane, my coach, was telling me, Dwain, do this, do this. He was that silent voice that really I should have been listening to. Yeah. But because everything was loud, I was just following the noise. Nowadays, I listen to that silent voice. When I hear that man say, Dwain, I pause and I listen. Now I can't take too much noise, and I'll pull back from it. So lo and behold, I, again, just became more and more successful, winning more championships. I think what was the building blocks to my success was I always get told this phrase, are athletes born or made? Yes, I was born in Elthorne Estate, Partington Close, but I was made in my bedroom. And what I mean by that is I would spend summer holidays. Summer holidays was 6 weeks long. I was in my room. My stepdad would not let us out. So I'll spend weeks, days, weeks, hours just watching out the bedroom, watching my friends run up and down, gallivant. I wish I was free like them. So my career was built in my room. So I would have on my wall, see all these images you got, I would have catalogue pictures or newspaper articles on my wall of Linford Christie, icons that I would watch whenever I got to see them on TV, and I'll say, I want to be them. And I'll study these pictures over and over just purely because they were on my wall. So I had cars that I wanted, people I wanted to see, houses I wanted, places I wanted to go. And they were just a big A5 paper, one of those big posters, big image like this here. And it was on my wall. So I would study it day after day, year after year, week after week. Until lo and behold, everything I saw in my image, I got. I was able to see Linford, I was able to see Carl Lewis, I was able to see all these icons that I'd viewed. All the cars I wanted, I got. The houses I wanted, I got. The places I wanted to visit, I was able to do so. So that showed to me the power of vision without me realizing it. Once I became free and was able to do my own thing, I got distracted by everything else. And that vision wall got crumbled up and put to one side. And then that was the demise of my career, because then I started to doubt myself. And as a result, decisions were made that cost me my career.
When you sorry to cut you, when you say doubt yourself, yeah, was there a moment, like, did you lose a race? Did you feel like you started a race that you didn't give it your all? Like, what made you make that transition into, all right, cool, there's something I need to do here besides what you were doing before?
Growing up as a teen, I won all my junior races. I won pretty much all my senior races. So I had never lost. Okay. I didn't know what losing felt like. I know what loss felt like in my room and not having the privileges. But in terms of when I gave the effort and I didn't get the reward, to me that was a failure. And I didn't know how to handle that. So when I go back to when I was talking about reverting back to my family, when I wanted to talk about something, we got beaten for it. So we got beaten for telling the truth, we got beaten for lying. So I didn't know where I stood. So when it came to having constructive conversations with people, like my coach, and saying, Dwain, you're doing well. Lo and behold, I was 18, 19, I'm finishing 4th in the world, going up against Maurice Green and Donovan Bailey, those top notches. They've been doing this for years. So me coming along and finish 4th, I'm like, no, that's not good enough. I should have been 3rd. Now the drive is good, but the way I handled it wasn't. And I wasn't open to sitting down and conversating about it. So this is where things started to go wrong for me. So I took my life into my own hands and said, right, I want to know what the Americans are doing. And the moment I opened that door to that form of curiosity, my career was done without even me realizing it. So I spoke to my agent at the time. Lo and behold, by this time, I was the 2nd highest paid Adidas athlete. I don't know if I should mention his name. So David Beckham was the top-notch Adidas athlete at the time. I was the 2nd highest paid athlete behind him at the time. So I was earning silly money. So it no longer became about the money because I didn't care about that. I was more concerned about, if I want to win, I'm winning. Now, where I want to make this quite important is I want to win at all costs. What I've learned now, whenever I go for a goal, I'm very specific about it. And if anything that comes into my realm that isn't part of my plan, I now reject it. Whereas at the time I said I want to win at all costs, which meant anyone can come in and offer me something. If it means drugs, if it means this, it means that, I left myself open to all that coming in, and I'll consider it.
What's the saying in terms of like not losing your soul? There's like a saying when they say about the devil losing your soul, in terms of in order for you to gain, you're willing to lose your soul at that time. Whereas now, in order for you to gain, you wouldn't lose your soul.
No.
That makes sense. So.
No. So with that, obviously in hindsight you learn, but I had to fall in order to realize what life is about and where I want to go. So I always say to you, learn more by losing than you do by winning. So I encourage loss, I encourage discomfort, I encourage pain and boredom, because you learn from it. If everything's handed to you, then you're not going to know how to struggle to get back up. And that's one thing that makes certain people in society, especially blacks, and all, in fact, all walks of race, quite resilient, because we've had it hard. But because we've had it hard, it doesn't mean our life is difficult. We just got an armor about us that can deal with all those hard blows and difficulties and disappointments in life. So it doesn't bother me. So my life could have easily turned around in the sense that, yeah, I've had all this stuff done to me and I could moan and be miserable about it. But I thought, no, we all go through it. We all go through it. Some people just choose to handle it differently.
But it's funny you say that because I remember when I was growing up and I was playing football, I remember a lot of the people that I played football with that were like sick, that were like at pro clubs at a young age, and everyone was like, you're going to be the next big thing. They weren't, because they were so used to battling up every kid.
Yep.
They'll play football, running through 10-man, top corner, but then when they got to the level where people started to get bigger, stronger, started to equal out, they couldn't handle it because they were so used to always cutting through that when they couldn't cut through no more, they were like, I don't get how I'm not cutting through.
Yeah.
And then you started seeing people that were like standard, or like people thought, yeah, he was all right, going past these people because they had the mindset where they didn't have it from then.
Yeah.
So because you never lost, when you said, was it 4th fastest in the world? Did you feel like the ones above you were taking drugs?
So I wasn't sure what was going on. I just looked at them, I thought, you ain't better than me. That was my mentality. So rightly or wrongly, it's what drove me to be the best. I was never intimidated by anybody. I just thought, you're a human just like me. I'm just going to train harder than you, be smarter than you, do things better than you. However, I didn't have the infrastructure or the support, or I had it, but I rejected it. So I thought, right, let me just pack my bags and come off the M25 and go down this little side road here.
Yeah.
Right now, my M25 was taking me to where I was going to be going, but I chose to just pack up my things.
It might
and
be quicker over there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? A better route.
I thought, let me just turn off here and go down that road
Go
and
to
see
a
what's
quick
going on.
service station.
Yeah, I went for a quick service station, got a pizza, and the pizza was tasted good. So I said, all right, let me go and see what these Americans are doing. So I went over there to Miami. This was late 2001. By this time, I'd still been finishing 4th in the Olympic Games, 4th in the World Championships, doing good. Sponsors were happy, managers were happy, everyone was good. I was earning money. As far as I'm concerned, if it weren't gold,
It doesn't count.
it don't count.
So this is after you won the European Championship? Or before?
I'd won a couple Europeans, so I'd times with me and Darren Campbell, but when it came to the major senior European Championships, this is where things started to unfold. So 2001, I'd gone to Edmonton in Canada and finished 4th or 5th in the world. I'd still been running under 10 seconds, more than any other Brit at the time. I think the only Brit that had run more sub-10s than me was Linford, and he was an icon in himself. But I was next in line. I wanted to go straight to the top. 2001, I said, right, I'm going to go to America. So I went there. And then, lo and behold, I'd seen athletes I'd watched on TV, some icons. And I'd never seen them before. I'd just seen them on TV. And then I just got a bit fan-struck. So I went and shook their hands and chatted to them. And there was this one athlete called Tim Montgomery.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's another American. We were rivals, but we were cool. As far as I'm concerned, we were cool. But I didn't realise at the time that he was on the same program as me. He was on the same program as I was about to go on. Well, I mean the program, I mean performance enhancers. I didn't know. I didn't know what I had stepped into
Yeah.
when I got off that plane in America, in Miami.
Yeah.
The facilities were amazing, but I didn't realise
That this is something else.
it weren't for me.
Yes, he's the guy that got caught with Marion Jones. Yeah.
So I didn't realise
That a coach?
he's an athlete.
Athlete.
Oh, okay, cool.
Remember Marion Jones?
No, I remember she got caught, but I think that was with her boyfriend or husband.
Yeah, she used to go up with some guy called CJ Hunter, shot putter or discus thrower.
Yeah.
They then, I guess, separated, and then she got with Tim Montgomery.
When she got caught, she tried to blame. She puts the blame on my man a bit though, on the sly. Like she was like, "Boy, it weren't me, though."
I'm going to talk about something similar like
was
that as well.
him.
After, but yeah.
That one hurt me as well because I fancied her still. My brother, marriage.
She was.
Yeah, she was chook at the
She
time.
was-
So she was the queen of track at the time.
Yeah, she was
So when I
killing
saw her, I
it.
was like, rah, it's really her. Like that's why she was, so I was just starstruck. So I thought, right, I want to be like them. As far as I'm concerned, they're winging, they're doing their thing, they're running fast, and there's no drama.
Yeah.
So 2-2s, I must have been in Miami for about. We had planned to be there for like, I don't know, 2 months. Me and my friend. So then I saw them, and then all of a sudden, this guy came out of the woodworks. And we always got told this story when we were young athletes. Be careful of guys that walk around with brown paper bags. They've always got something in there for you. So I was like, what's all that about? Lo and behold,
Popped up.
poof, like a genie, my man popped up. And he goes, Dwain, I've been looking for you for a long time. I said, what do you mean? I don't know who you are. And he goes, no, I got some, you know, you're a good athlete. I've got my eye on you. I think I can take you from being number 5 in the world to number 1 in the world. Me, I was like, what is it?
You're like, whoa.
So that was, again, me putting out getting there at all costs.
Yeah.
He picked up my signal. You know them ones when you're thinking about something like, wow, just thinking about you and they text you? He picked up my mental WhatsApp.
Yeah.
He picked it up. So again, I'm very careful with what I project because if you're looking for bad opportunities will come and find you.
You know what I mean? They will look for you.
If you want good stuff to happen, good stuff will take its time, but it will come.
Yeah.
But bad opportunities come to you quick. Because I've been looking for you. Because I can take you from being number 5 in the world to number 1 in the world. That was like me. I was like, yeah, I'm on it. But did I know what it involved? No. So guys, I'll tell you what, go and talk to these guys over there. And they'll let you know how legit I am. And cool. So I went and spoke to them. Tim and Grammy weren't too happy about me being part of the group. But as time progressed, I understood what was going on.
Is it because you're essentially a threat?
So what happened, because Tim and Victor, the guy who's supplying, them two fell out. I went over to Tim and Tim goes, I said, Tim, what I got? And he goes, man, tell that nigga Victor Cunty to suck my dick, and walked off.
And you're thinking,
I was like, why's he got beef with me for? Walked off. And I said, Victor, what's going on? He goes, we don't talk no more. So lo and behold, I found out that
so now it's put, you know, you're thinking,
now it's starting to make sense. So he's lost him and he's looking for the next culprit. I just so happened to be in the right place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Oh, so basically, Tim used to take, but he stopped taking.
Yeah. So literally, he's with my man over there. Then my man is thinking, cool, I'm not working with him no more.
I just so happened to be in the right place at the wrong time.
Okay.
So I guess my man stopped supplying him and I was next in line, not realizing
That this is.
So he goes, what you need is pharmacology. I said, what's pharmacology? So at this time, I never had no dictionary to
look through these things, yeah.
I don't know. And right now, I was just there to impress. I just wanted to be part of the team. He goes, come over to see me in a few weeks' time, and we'll talk. So I said, okay. So I just carried on training, normal. Got home, went back to San Fran, went and saw Victor, and he goes, look, this is the program. When I sat there thinking, fuck.
It's a life-changing moment. Because there's no going back from there.
And before, he already had me from when he said number 5 to number 1 in the world. He already had me. He would just give me time to kind of digest it and think about it.
And kind of want it more and like, yeah, because remember, it's kind of like
he didn't rush you into it.
Yeah, 4 to 5, because he knew you were going to come anyway. He saw the look in your eye. He was like, he'll be back.
But at the time, did you know what you were doing was wrong?
When I started the program, yeah.
Oh, you knew?
I knew everything.
The only reason I asked is because obviously you've done interviews since.
Yeah.
And then some interviews you've said you didn't.
When I first started this, that was my lawyer's statement.
100%, bro. You're a lawyer. You know,
the lawyer was, I was paying a lot of money, £350 an hour.
So you were advised to say these things? Okay, cool.
But then I thought to myself, I want to get back in the sport. And I can't keep lying. I've lied my whole childhood.
Yeah, and catch up for you, innit?
It gets to a point I don't want to lie no more.
And it takes a toll on you as well.
Of course it does.
But how was it explained to you? As in, like, so for example, like when he presented it to you, because you said it was pharmacology, right? Mm-hmm. So one could assume that it was like pharmacology, and you think it's something that's cool to do, but like a new aspect of athletics. Whereas, or how was it explained, and how was it introduced, and how was it taken, or?
So pharmacology was the drug. It was THG. So it came in drops that you have to take under your tongue. So literally you just get a syringe and you draw out the contents of it. Like I just got a syringe and drew it out.
Yeah.
You take out, 2 mil and you just literally just put it under your tongue. So anytime you're taking any form of painkiller, you put it under your tongue or under your armpit because it gets into your bloodstream quicker.
What,
So
painkiller?
yeah. So if you take paracetamol, you crush it up and let it dissolve under your tongue because it gets into your bloodstream quicker. Otherwise, if you swallow it, it has to go through
everything to come.
So normally when I hate anti-inflammatories, I just leave it to dissolve under my tongue.
Well, under the armpit as well.
Or it depends if it's cream, it gets into your bloodstream quicker. Oh. So those are the little methods that we had to use at the time. Yeah. I'm not saying this is what they're doing. I don't know what they do now. So we had to take the clear, which is the droplets, and the cream. I guess that must have been the masking agent. So you rub that on your arm. So he explained all this to me. He goes, this is the designer. there are a number of steroids that they have that they know are illegal. So if they see it in your bloodstream, it will match. Whereas ours was a little grey, so it was off center. So the drug testers would look at it and be like, "There's something there, but we don't know because it doesn't match." But it was kind of grey like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they only test for particular drugs. So if something else, you're taking something else.
And they don't know what it
test
is.
for that.
Yeah,
then
it can't
It passes.
say you as a positive. So I was like, okay, it's designed. He said all these guys are taking it. Lo and behold, there were 29 other people on this program.
Wow.
So you
All
might
performing at high level.
Yeah. So you have to do your research and figure out who
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are. But there were 29 fires burning all over the place. And that's too many fires to have. That's too many fires.
Yeah.
That's too many fires.
Yeah, that's you can't control that.
You can't control that. And only a matter of time before someone does something too much and that fire goes, woof,
Yeah.
and then you're hot.
Everything burns.
Sorry, just to clarify before you continue. When you said the masking agent, is that so the drug goes undetected during the test?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Just clarify.
Yeah.
And it's just the cream.
The clear, which you put on your tongue, it shuts down your body's own endogenous system of producing testosterone. And then this was like way more advanced. So when you go in the gym and you bench or you do any form of lift and you get small microscopic tears, your body would naturally repair it and probably build that a muscle fiber of this size, just for argument's sake. What we were taking, our muscle fibers would be this big. That's why I got so big.
That's got a hinge.
Yeah,
So when your body naturally produces it, it will repair and the muscle fiber will be this big. When we was taking that,
Because you know when they say do cardio in the gym, yeah, and then obviously people say, oh, what kind of cardio, and they compare the two types of cardio, where they say hit and list, yeah, and then they compare like a marathon, someone who runs a marathon and someone who sprints. So he's always the picture.
yeah, you see them all the time.
There was one picture of Dwain running and his face was like this.
But his arm, yeah.
The quad was the quad was. I remember that picture thinking,
Yo,
like,
and when I was doing this, I never ever looked in the mirror. It's only when I was off and I looked back and I'm like,
But you was wham.
nah, the was too big.
I said Dwayne got caught because everybody was like, nah, this brother's taking
Yo,
it.
no, big.
Everybody was
See,
like,
you know, I think
you see last year?
Do you know what the problem is?
Look at that man's
I
diet
feel like
that as
you
well.
got great genetics on top of that.
On top
so
of
it's
that.
one of those ones where you take a little bit and your body's
Yeah, I
like,
swole up.
ooh. So it went,
I swole
so
up.
you know what I mean? So with certain people, it takes them from being okay to being
swole
okay.
up,
So
man.
you went from being genetically superior
Yeah,
to
to that.
then
To
you know what I
Goku,
mean?
bruv.
No, really,
Trust
like,
me.
no. That's what literally it takes you to then, you know what I mean, in terms of
Another
physique, you know what I
level.
mean, God, like levels, because your body is at the best it could be,
Yeah, and
and
you
then you
all
hit that
enhance
next
it.
level.
bro,
And
you were like Linford Christie on like, because Linford was hench. I remember Linford was like boom,
Yeah.
but then I remember that's what I'm saying. You stood out because it was like you.
But Linford
man
weren't
them-
cut though.
Nah, what? Linford weren't cut.
No, it's cut as him.
But when Linford, at the end of the race, Linford used to do this thing, yeah, where sometimes like, you know, like if he won or lost, he'll do this little strut where he'll just walk around. Then what?
Just peel off the top, innit?
Then he'll
Man,
pull
peel off the top of the gas, that's all he's doing, blood.
And he'll just walk around. And you're thinking, allow it,
Man,
Linford.
peel off the top.
but it's actually dope. You know the question you were asking about, you know what I mean, stuff that they can't detect and so on. It goes on. It's like when with a lot of American football players and a lot of players in the NBA. Like I think it was only recently where they started testing, you know, for growth. Because remember, I think they used to struggle because it's like a baseline. You know what I mean? Where if you don't have someone's baseline,
Yeah.
you don't know if there's any changes or if there's anything irregular. So remember, when they started, they never used to test. So you don't have anyone's baseline. So you can't tell me this isn't what
I'm
you know what I
naturally,
mean?
yeah.
What I'm
like,
naturally like. So then they'd start getting people's baselines, then they would just test them, you know what I mean, throughout the time. And then you're like, ooh, this is just spiked. Because when you looked at, and I always used to say this about the Americans, I was like, bro, I know different people in different areas, you know what I mean, grow, whatever. And I was like, but there's absolutely no reason why they should be that big for no, because that was, you know, when you look at the Kenyans and how they are, you're like, their climate changes how they are. They can run longer. They can do this because of the environment they're in. Americans were just big, headstrong. Like
big.
there is nothing that you do that warrants how you are. Like
you
how
look.
you know what I mean? People on 6 foot, 7 foot, or whatever. There is nothing that you people do over there that says you should all look like
different.
the way that you
No,
do.
but Americans, just remember, a lot of them...
Bro, there's a lot, no, growth hormone, like, especially when you look into athletics and stuff like that, a lot of them were on so many things that is actually changed their DNA through time because they were on so many things before people started detecting these.
But even their food, a lot of their food has got
GMO.
GMOs in it, like a lot of it. So
And
when you go to America, like, you just see, like, tall people. Like, it's
Because
mad.
there's so many things that have been put into them, their food, their this. Because if you think about, speak of winning, right? When you think of you wanted to win, you wanted to be the best and stuff like that. Americans, from when you are born until you die,
you're
everything
programmed.
revolves around winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like
Americans
that
are
though,
programmed.
still.
It's a good thing and a bad thing. Americans are programmed to believe they are the best in the world. You could be in the worst conditions, live in America. You're conditioned to believe you're better than anyone anywhere else. You know what I mean? That's why sometimes you get, you know what I mean, like you look at Americans that are in terrible conditions, they look down on Africans, they're like, yeah, but your situation's whatever. But then you start to realize that they're just conditioned to believe that
So why are we not
the
conditioned?
best.
What's the difference with us? Because you see in America, they're like that.
Yeah. But over here, but that's not I don't think that's the culture.
No, culture, you're right.
You know what I mean?
But-
Americans, that's how they dominate.
that's how they
When I say
fuck
even
up.
in the world, they're like the land of the free. Like when I say they repeat this so much, people start to believe it. Even in instances where you're like, bro, you live in squalor. Like you look at people like you are not free. But they repeat it so much. Where for those people, like the patriotism and stuff, the way even in sports, like when you look at the way we treat sports over here and how they do it. When you look at college football, you
it's
know,
a
when,
different
like college football players in America are, you know what I mean, phenomenal
They're-
athletes.
Yeah, they overly believe themselves because even rappers over there, like, I'm like, you ain't good, but they just believe that they're better than
Everything, because they're conditioned to believe that, you know what I mean, there's no number two. It's only now,
I'm number one.
you know what I mean, literally number two doesn't count over there. You know what I mean? There's no, literally, you are number one. Number two is great and all, but nobody cares. Number one, when you look at the Super Bowl,
No, but the thing
Super
is,
Bowl,
I like-
bro, literally NBA, the playoffs, whatever they do, everything
but
is.
in America, I think, as it the land of the great. Remember, America's a very flamboyant place. Like even, for example, if you see a football match here, like people on the vibe of saying, you hear footballers say, it's only like a while ago when man used, if you wore white boots or yellow boots back, people saying it's too flashy, man. It's too much. You gotta get the black boots. Whereas when you go to America, like even that coach, is it Deion Sanders? That's got like he coaches the Florida NFL team. Before they're coming out to like hip hop tunes. They're dancing like
Yeah, they're extravagant,
They're
aren't they,
proper
though?
extravagant
Yeah,
with it.
they're
Like when they come out, like when they win, if someone gets tackled, they're celebrating. That's what we do, baby.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
And their
It's
trash talking is so
brother,
sick,
they
man.
trash talk. It's
Yeah.
their whole,
Because everything
whole
revolves
culture
on
is-
being number one. You know what I mean? That's literally, because think about it. When you think of let's look an American football team. So you have the team. So the team wins, you win. But you can also be the best quarterback, best defensive, whatever, you know what I mean? Best linebacker, best, you know what I mean? You could be number one in so many different ways, you know what I mean? When
The
you sit
amount
there,
of yards
and
you've
literally
done,
for
the
them,
amount of
everything.
catches,
So
like-
there's so many different ways of being number one. So everything revolves around being number one in some way. So for them, that's literally it. And
Even
so
count
for
their
them,
yards.
like the incentives,
Yeah, they count,
they count
everything.
yards.
count their yards.
And remember,
Everything.
and they count their yards from like the beginning. And the difference with America, and I feel like it's something we should implement here, but I don't know how we would do it. But like,
And everything rolls, like, they're all millionaires over there.
but remember, America's a very big
Big
place.
country, isn't it?
But even if you look at, for example, like football here, you've got to go to like a team like a Chelsea or Arsenal to be big. Whereas in America, they're looking at you from high school. Like no
and they
one.
weren't making money before because they were taking all their money. Now their college football players can keep their money.
No, but I'm
One
saying,
kid's a millionaire. and
but
he's
no
not
one, but
in
no
the
one goes
NFL.
under the radar. As in, like no player will be in an American college team and good, and no one knows
everyone
because
will know.
you'll be like,
scouting him.
Tazer's the big guy at Florida. Dwain's the big guy at Oklahoma. Keith's the big guy at Chicago. Like, so the teams are already looking at you, man.
I
Already.
swear
They're going to your
they
games.
even do this thing where, for example, your is it? I don't know how they is it called first pick or first draft?
Yeah, first draft.
NFL
So
first draft.
they let you know from college that
But like I said,
you're
but
number one in your
even,
college.
Even think about it. Even the nature of that, literally where you get picked, is important. You know what I mean? Think about it for the teams and stuff like that. You have the first draft, and so and especially there's the first round of drafts, then there'll be the second round of draft. You know what I mean? Your contract changes where you get picked, so you all end up on the same team or whatever, but you get picked in the wrong place. Your contract isn't even there no more.
But the reason I like that is because, like, for example, it evens out the league.
Yeah.
So, for example, if the LA Lakers have won the championship this season, they don't get the first pick because you're the best team of last season. So the team who done the worst, you get the first
First pick. That makes
So I'm
sense.
saying, so it kind of helps the league, like for example, it's like Man United, like Man
You
City
be
winning
pissed,
the
bro.
league.
Like, I don't want to end up at the worst team.
But it's like-
But I think
it's
a
like-
lot of them is just about getting in there.
Yeah.
Because remember, even if you watch that, what's it called? Malice in the Palace documentary, the way they kind of built the team is they started off with one player and then like they saw
build
his
around
attributes and then so okay, cool, found another
Yeah,
player.
like Jordan when
Okay,
they went
cool,
to
you
Chicago.
two are good, but you need someone who's going to support the two of you. So they went and found that player, and then before you knew it,
Because
they were
every team
literally
won't
on
know.
course to win.
Yeah. So every team won't know what their final picks
Yeah,
are
until they
you know
see
what I mean?
them
So
play.
it's literally whoever you pick first then determines the rest of the team, I guess.
But even with what you were saying in regards to athletics and that, I feel like if the UK had America's blueprint a bit more, I'm not saying obviously doping was happening in America, but you would have been exposed to the limelight a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like here, the way you said it was like you were running, you were cool, and at the blue it went from nothing
You had to see the
to
Americans.
something.
Yeah.
Bang,
It's
whereas-
not even. You
And
had
even
to
when
see
I went there, I
people's
took
hair.
on their culture and my attitude changed.
Yeah.
My persona changed, my personality
Yeah.
changed. Then I started to think like them. So when I
Because think
got
about even you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Because you're not allowed to
no
celebrate.
pun intended. But
You're not
even
allowed to-
You're not allowed to celebrate here when you win.
it's not
it's not
embraced
that.
here.
No, it's not. I'm saying, but for
no
example,
pun intended.
but
Even
if you-
American personalities are on steroids. If you think about everything over
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is
yeah, it's amplified.
No,
Yeah.
but for example, if you're in high school, remember some college games have got like 50,000
Yeah.
capacity
You know,
stadium.
yeah.
And
So from a
there's
young
football
age,
teams that can't get that
you're
many
used
people
to
there.
like
Exposed to that, yeah.
exposed to
No,
that.
no, no.
So I'm saying, so you would have got to a stage where you're like, you're the big man, but you've been a big man from
Yeah,
high school,
from long
college. You know
time.
what I'm saying?
But to be fair, that does have its pro and cons.
No, it does. But I'm saying, for example, but it like the exposure. Because remember, when you look at certain NFL players or NBA players, like the pressure, it's been there from day. It's not like a new thing.
No,
where
but
they-
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the point I was trying to make is, for example, when you win here, you're not celebrated enough.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't. So him being number one here,
you're not even
we're
allowed
not
to
even
celebrate
celebrating
too much
Yeah, like we're not
yourself,
even
you know what I
celebrating
mean?
like we have like he's number one. We're just like you have to go over there,
But
get a
then-
number one, and everyone sees
but-
like, oh shit,
but
he's
People
from
want to
here,
humble
by the
you.
way.
You know, people want to humble, like, don't
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
too
But,
cocky.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
unfortunately, like, is the elephant in the room? Is that a black thing or a white thing? Because I see white people that are number one, they get celebrated. What Stephen Redgrave and them, man, I don't see any problem with them being number one.
I hear
Like,
what you're saying, but one thing
when
I
it
will
comes to
say,
certain- when it comes to black, it's a bit different.
it's
though.
wait, are you-
slightly
oh, wait,
different, but I feel
is-
like the British culture as a whole, and this is from, you know what I mean, an outsider's perspective, because remember, it's something I had to kind of get into. British people in general are very reserved.
Reserved.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's the
one
point
thing.
I'm trying to
We're very
make.
conservative as people. That's why I say
And we're very
there's-
PC.
Yes, there's
Very
only so much.
PC,
You know what I mean?
very.
There's only so much you can do before people get uncomfortable.
I swear,
in general.
I swear, how many times has Thing won her races? Is it Paula Radcliffe?
Yeah, yeah.
How many times did she win? What was it?
Well, she was telling about she won a whole
like,
league.
like marathon, half marathons, all that.
Yeah, but she was winning like stupidly.
Yeah, there's a couple she lost as well.
Obviously, I mean,
No, I'm just
eventually-
saying, as in like,
But I'm just
But
saying,
like
the
I
ones,
said, we have a very reserved nature
Yeah.
about us,
Yeah.
and we don't like to gloat. But when we do stand up and be ourselves,
People are like, whoa.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
and we make a
Whoa.
statement. So we're all. I think it's been ingrained in us from kids to be humble. Our parents ingrained it from us because we don't want the attention,
Because humility is, you know what I mean? Be humble.
and it
be
keeps you
humble,
out of
be
trouble.
humble.
and it keeps you out of
Yes.
trouble. But if you stand up above the parapet,
You get
make-
seen.
Of
And that's
course
why,
you will.
and that's why Marvin, you know, back to what you were saying as black people, because think about it, as a black person, especially growing up in you know what I mean, in this country, especially back then, you know what I mean, you don't want to be seen too much.
You just
know
wanna
what I mean?
cut through.
When you know
You
what I
just
mean,
wanna
it's
cut through,
exactly, yeah, it's a country. So you don't want to be seen too much. When you're seen too much, it's
And
not
do you
good
know-
for
but
you.
do
You
you
see
know
what I'm
what-
saying? So the more you do, the more you celebrate, the more people see you. When people see you, people notice you, and they pay attention to everything you do, and it brings you
Do you know what-
problems.
and it goes both ways.
That's the problem.
It could be the media and police. Sometimes it could
Yeah.
just be even family.
or even your
Yeah.
peers or your
Like,
peers as well.
Sometimes you don't want like, oh, your auntie and your
Yeah,
family.
so your family's just
Look
like,
at
chill,
look
chill,
at the
chill.
Pogba situation.
There
It's
you
mad.
go.
But
That's what happens, yeah.
But we're just touching on bare different points. What you just said now is actually sick because the same thing happened with Kevin De Bruyne. So you know he was going through like foster home, and because of that he had like a disrupted childhood. So because of that he just kept quiet. He didn't want to bring attention to himself, but he knew he wanted to play football and he always wanted to play football. But because of that, they thought he was broken. They're like, why don't you play out? Like, why don't you go join the other kids kind of thing? So the last family that he lived with before he actually made it in football, they kind of kicked him out. It's like, there's something wrong with this guy. We want another child and sent him back. Whatever. I think he found another family that actually were more supportive of his football. Then he started killing it in football. They caught wind of it and tried to come back. He was like, what? You look dumb.
Yeah.
That's why he has the personality he has now. And the reason why I say that is because I've done research into. He posted a paragraph the other couple months ago about Raheem Sterling, and he was like, basically Raheem is one of my best friends. But if I paid attention to what the media wrote about him, I wouldn't have gotten to know him. But because I'm not that way inclined and I've seen what the media have written about me, I took a liking to him. And then all of a sudden I'm like, who are you lot writing about? Because I know Raheem Sterling. He's not that guy. And that kind of touched me because I'm like, you know what, that's actually sick because he didn't need to say that. He didn't need to come out and say that, do you know what I mean?
British media does play a part in how people celebrate their wins. Because you know, and you're like, I don't want to get in their radar. Because you know how it is. You're like, you don't want to get on their radar. Because once they pick up on you.
But ultimately, over time, you learn that no matter what they say, that's their opinion.
Yeah.
As long as when you shut your door, your wife, your kids, your missus, you're good. All of that. And that takes time. Because when you're young, you want to impress, you want to earn money, you're hot. Yeah. You know, you're trending.
Yeah.
And at that present time, that's all that matters. But once you kind of get a few knocks and you learn how things work, you kind of realize what matters is just your family and your friends.
Yeah.
I was gonna get back to you in terms of, so like we got onto the part where underneath your tongue, under your shoulder.
So you started basically taking the program.
Yes. So
how did it unravel in terms of how did
it fall apart?
Before that, but now let's not speed up. Like, let's see the wins.
I might say what? So
So I got into his office now, went back to San Francisco, gone and seen him, said, this is the program, this is what it costs. Hold on, before that, when I was in Miami, I phoned my agent.
I knew there'd be a cost with these people. That's where
I phoned my agent, I said, this guy's offered me drugs. And really and truly, I wish I'd phoned my mum or my dad, but I didn't have that relationship with them. So
but you know what? Hindsight could have told you that they might have.
They would have told me the answer that I didn't want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
They would have told me what I didn't want to hear.
That's why you didn't call them.
That's why I didn't call them.
But sometimes a little doubt, you know what I mean? Like you said, you know what I mean?
I wanted to know how deep that rabbit hole went.
Yeah, but if I know...
Morpheus and Neo, the red pill or the blue pill, I wanted to know.
How, you know what I mean?
What about your brethren from back in the day in terms of
I couldn't call them.
You couldn't.
If I'd called them, they would have been like, yeah, D, go and do your thing. More than likely, because they're a few younger than me. They don't know no better. No disrespect to them, but we were young.
Yeah. I feel like you knew that your mum and dad would have said
They would have said, Dwain, come home.
Yeah.
But
so that's why you didn't call them. That's why you didn't
call them.
Yeah.
I knew they would have told me what I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
But I wish I did. But if I hadn't have gone and done that, I wouldn't be in this position now.
Yeah.
I don't know what person I would have become.
Yeah.
So when I talk about this, I always say that what happened to me was necessary.
Yeah.
It had to happen to me.
People wouldn't change a thing.
But that when that happened to you, it kind of like it shone the light because a lot of people didn't know what was going on in terms of doping. In terms
Were
of
you the
athletics.
first one?
I was the first one to admit.
Yeah, he was the first one.
I was the first
to come out.
Admit.
That's why there was no like before.
There's always, I've done this. It was contaminated me.
But Ben Johnson, I remember before you, but Ben Johnson got caught.
Yeah, but he said he
There's been
admitted
dozens that get caught.
He admitted it.
And
Okay.
I can only talk about myself, myself, on behalf of myself. But typically, they all know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You don't go into it blindly. Don't get me wrong, there are some rare cases where athletes just get caught up in it and their coaches are probably
The Russians.
doping them without them realising. I get that. A lot of state government, organised. But there are rare cases where we know.
But do you get, for example, so if you come up with if you make an excuse, you're like, nah, it's the meet I had, or I had a cold, I took some flu tablets, whatever, is the punishment more lenient than if you say, yo, do you know what, I done it?
It's less. I should have had a 2-year ban.
Yeah.
When I had my first statement, I didn't know what I was doing. It was a mistake. 2-year ban. I came back. So I got banned 04, 05, 2004, 2005. I came back 06. Still came back the fastest in Britain and Europe after 2 years off. So it showed that I didn't need to do what I did, but I had to know.
Oh, okay, cool. That makes okay.
It would have burnt me more to not know than to, gone through it. So I'd rather have gone through. I like to go through stuff and figure it out.
What was it like when you returned?
It was hostile. Hostile in my environment, the track and field world, the athletics world. But outside of that, people were just like, yeah, you're an idiot, but...
So you're saying in terms of your peers, is it like certain people didn't want to talk to you, certain people just like, move, man, or they were more like, I forgive you, or I know what you done.
My close boys were just always going to be there, and I was open with them. I just said, this is what I did. And it took me a long time to admit it because when I got caught, I didn't want to accept what I did. So I spent a lot of time with women around me. I didn't ever sleep on my own. I was too afraid to
think.
Have that
Yeah.
conversation with yourself.
I just had women around me all the time. And if it weren't women, it was just all my boys. If it weren't that I was drinking and going out and just acting crazy, but I didn't want to stay on my own.
Did you win anything on it?
On it, yeah. But I won more off of it. And I was less stressed.
The anxiety kicks in as well because you always think on those things. You're always thinking of getting caught.
Don't get me wrong. Once I took that first injection, I had to take EPO and inject my stomach. I was on so many things. I didn't know what was working.
Or what wasn't? You know,
Or what wasn't. I
Or
didn't
you
know
know,
what
you're
was
out
working.
there paying for shit that.
I was just taking stuff. It was part of the program. And yes, you referred to me as what was a genetic freak, but I was what's referred to when I was talking to the guy, Victor. I was a slow responder.
But again, you know, your body hit this peak. You know, your
when
body's like, what more can we
when
do?
I say slow responder, I had to go. I spent more time in the hospital than I did training, just so we could find the right balance for what I was doing. So when I was taking EPO, my hematocrit level, like this is like the limit of where your blood should be. My hematocrit level was low.
What is hematocrit?
It's like-
when people don't know.
It's
like it's like a
Morgan
sugar
said
level.
it for people, for us. They'll say for people that don't
So
know.
basically,
For
my
us,
hematocrit level was
Right.
like, so I've got really, really small red blood cells, so I don't carry a lot of oxygen.
Okay, cool.
So I had to increase the size
Your white blood
of my red blood cells,
okay.
and which in turn would attach more oxygen cells to it. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not no scientist on this for cameras, so
That's what
you
thing
medical
What's
people.
that, like, aerobic and
Yeah. So EPO. If I had to admit anything, I'm not condoning this, but if anything worked, that was the best thing for me because it enabled me to train for longer.
That's what thing was on, or something similar, but it does the same thing. Lance Armstrong
Correct. So
won it 7 times, you know. Rage.
So my hematocrit was low, and I had to get it to a higher level so that my oxygen uptake was just on point.
yeah.
So there was a couple of occasions where my hematocrit level went over. Now, if it goes over, there's chances of me blood clotting because my red blood cells would be too thick to go through my veins. So when that started to happen, I started to get fits, and I was in and out of hospital. So then we had to reduce my dosage to get it to the right level. Once we got that, then we're like, all right, that box ticked. Then we had to find the right dose for the clear and the cream, because if I took too less, it wasn't giving me the stimulus. If I took too much, it was too much.
Yeah.
So I had to go through that, and then we ticked that
What
box.
did the cream do though?
I guess it was yin and yang. It had to balance it out. If I took too much of one, I was going to be too left side. So it balanced it out. So again, I'm not no scientist. I'm just going off for what my man told me I had to do. So I just said, okay. But again, the moment I took that first injection and took the clear, that train went 1,000 miles an hour and I couldn't get off. I knew I was doing something wrong.
But did it feel good?
The winning felt good.
Yeah.
But my conscience,
Yeah.
the person that the people cheering, and you're amazing, and the fans and the money, it was cool. But when I shut my door, I was like, what am I doing? I couldn't have my friends come around my house. So my stuff was in the fridge. When they come around my house, I had to get all my stuff out the fridge, buy a small little fridge, put it in my bedroom, hide it in there. When my girlfriend used to come out to move the fridge somewhere else.
Yeah, because then you're always thinking someone might find something. Someone might find
Syringes
something.
were just, you get lazy.
Yeah.
So syringes were all over the place. I was like, I don't want to do this, but it was too late.
You're in,
I was on the radar, so whether I stop now or
and they'll go catch you
they're going to catch me.
because something's gonna change.
So subconsciously, I was like,
But what happens? But if you stop taking it,
Bro, everything changes.
everything changes.
Everything changes, cool. But then it's like, but nothing's in your bloodstream.
No,
Though,
it's
no?
already in.
It's
Oh, serious?
Yeah, of course it is.
So how long will it stay in your system? For?
I was told at the time it stayed in my system for about 6 months. But
Jesus.
even so, they didn't know what it was because it was still off radar.
But they'll notice with
months.
physical changes. If you get really big and then you get really
And I was
small, little
huge. You saw. I didn't see how big I was.
Yeah.
I went from weighing 88 kilos and I spiked to 92 in the space of 6 weeks.
And-
I went from squatting 130 kilos to 230 in 2 months. Jump squat for 5.
Jump squat.
I was jump squatting 230 kilos.
Bridging. Spine didn't say
That's
yo.
why
Man
the
said
quads
good.
were like the way they were. So I was
Man said-
peeling off the top like Linford at the
Man said,
time.
"Give me man's
I was,
number, blood."
I was an animal.
Yeah. And one thing, when you say you jump from 88 to 92, some people think it's only 4 kilos. 4 kilos of
lean mass.
Lean
muscle
mass. I had
You
no
know what I mean?
body fat.
That's one thing most people don't
Yeah,
understand.
that's not easy.
It
bro.
takes
an animal.
years to build.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and I was just eating non-stop.
Yep.
I'll go through 2 pizzas easy. I didn't really have a diet.
Bro, that wasn't even clean.
You didn't need it.
Clean, that's
Man
eating
said
it.
clean. Man said, I'm eating kebabs.
Nah, didn't really. Didn't have a diet.
You didn't.
And I never do, because I guess genetically I don't.
So is that a fair argument? Because Fing says it all the time. What's his name?
Cinco.
Ocho Cinco. Like he just ate whatever he
I just ate what I
wanted.
want. A lot of athletes do. On the TV.
No, because they train.
Say-
Think of it. How many
Exactly.
calories you burn? You look at someone like Michael Phelps, and I remember one time he was talking about how many calories he was burning every day. You're like, you can eat whatever you
You just
like.
eat what you want. There's a balance to it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't go to the fast food restaurants and damn that, but you just eat.
Sorry, random fact here, because you mentioned Michael Phelps. Yeah, give you a chance to drink a drink in that. Did you know that there's a thing called dry shaving? Like swimmers do it. So literally shave their skin dry.
Yeah.
Doesn't that hurt? Why
It hurts, yeah, but it helps them swim faster.
Is it?
Yeah. But obviously, some of them get spun because the water that they jump in has got chlorine in it, so it burns. But once they kind of get past that,
Some of them take their eyebrows. Some of them
yeah,
take their eyebrows off.
yeah, no hair.
want
To be
Aerodynamic.
more aerodynamic
Yeah.
in the water, yeah.
Remember when you was
And
So
literally-
hair causes drag.
Yeah.
Remember
So they
as well,
literally
in the
shave
water as well.
everything
Remember
off.
water as well, like it's pulling against. I guess it might be slightly different with air, but with water, you know what I mean?
No, but removing your hair, cool. But I'm saying also like skin
Everything.
as well. Like they want their
you want
skin to be like
smooth.
down to its
'Cause
yeah,
think about it,
smooth.
your skin gets really smooth, and you just pass through water.
But think
like
about
butter.
think about you. If you do a 100-meter race, for example, imagine someone
You can
says,
see with hair.
no, here are these trainers that are like 10 grams lighter than the ones you have.
Yeah, you're gonna take them.
You're gonna take it,
You're
but
gonna take
that might give you like an extra 100th
Yeah,
of a second
for sure.
because you know what I mean. You got
Sure.
So it's like that little thing might have like a little advantage in the
Well, that's
water.
what the new thing with these spikes now. They've got these new Nike and Adidas have them too, and they've got the little sponge part at the tip of the sole, so it gives them a little bit more reaction off the ground. So the key to sprinting is to be physically, prepared for it. I think obviously you've got to be mentally sound. You've got to have all the right speed endurance and all the necessary components to run. And then you've got to have what's called stride frequency. That's the ability to spin. But you can't have too much stride frequency or too much spin without stride length.
When you say spin, what do you mean spin?
Their legs move.
Your legs turn over. So that's called frequency. The ability to turn your legs.
Yeah.
But if you have too much turnover, you only cover so much ground. So you've got to have the turnover and the stride length. Okay. So what made...
Is that why Usain Bolt doesn't have?
That's what made him superior to everybody else. He had the height, 6'5", confident as hell. Because right now, nobody was beating him.
But his legs weren't.
So he had the stride length and he had the stride frequency. But what he did, coach cultivated him in a way where he was able to get on and off the ground faster than everybody else. And that's the key. It's ground contact time. It's your ability to get on and off the ground. If you're on it too long, gravity pulls you down and you stay on the ground for too long.
If you get off it really quickly,
With the right technique and track surfaces have changed and events being geared around you,
yeah.
you got a team around you. He's unique in the sense he ran as fast as he did.
Yeah.
No one ain't troubling him.
Where were you when you first saw him run?
I was training with him in 2006.
Oh, so you knew he was a problem.
So I knew. I didn't know it was a problem then. I saw him and I heard about him, but I didn't think anything. It's only when he came out in 2007 and Tyson Gay beat him in the 200, then the next year I just saw somebody different.
Like he went home and he was like,
You went to the mountains, bro.
Yeah, he was a different kid.
From 2008, I remember
When he broke the world record.
Yeah,
and then
2008, 2012. Like remember, it was like 3 Olympics in a row. It was like, and even the 4x400.
4x1, yeah.
When it's just like when he just took off at the end, like it was kind of neck and neck, and he just took it and just went boom. Yeah.
But what was hard to handle as an athlete, there was a significant shift in technique at the time, and I'd missed that window because I was out of the sport. But that's when frontside mechanics was involved in sport. So when you see kids run, sometimes you see their legs almost hitting their back. That's called backside running. So now we have athletes who spend more time in front of themselves, which enables them to cover more ground and stay. It's a more efficient way of running. So what you want to be able to happen is when this leg is landing, I'm gonna use this leg as an example. When this leg lands, you want it to stay in line with your hip. If your thigh or your knee goes behind your bum, you're gonna spend too much time on the ground and you're gonna backside.
Yeah.
Your leg will spin and backside. Like you see some kids when they're playing, their heads are back, their arms are wide, and they kick their bums. You don't want that.
So you want your...
You want everything to stay ahead of you.
Is that so? Is that why like? 'cause
So
I see
people run kind of...
I see people do that thing where they have the bar,
Bar.
and then they kind of like doing that where their legs are like
Yeah, so
one,
loads of
2,
drills.
3.
Yeah.
Like the drill. So it's kind of
So that's rehearsal of movement.
okay.
Now the thing is, you're not gonna run that way. You're not gonna run with your arms up. You're not gonna really be so fixed. But it teaches the behavior of how you want your
run.
body to move.
This is
It's science.
Yeah,
It's
I
science.
used to do that flex back in the day.
No, but
Science.
what I took from that is just like repetition,
100%.
just to get better and better.
And the
better
good
and better and
ones
better.
are the ones who get good at doing the boring stuff.
Yep. Because the boring stuff makes you the best.
Yeah.
See, they spoke about Mayweather, and you know, he used to practice.
They don't even look.
You know what I mean? Like even his with his coach, what do they call them?
Oh,
The numbers, like when they train. You know what I mean?
combinations.
So they were like, he'd be in the club with his headphones in, or he'd be out with his headphones in, and he'd listen to the combinations wherever he was. You know what I mean?
Smart.
And he would literally, you know what I mean? Like wherever he was,
Yep.
was just listening to his combos over
It's like
and over
I
and
met,
over
I met,
and over
I met a
again.
guy in Dubai, and he used to own a gaming company, and he said because he's into gaming and stuff like that, his son has been playing games since he was like 2, 3 years old. I think his son's like near 9, 10 now, yeah. And he said he watches his son play these games that they've built now, yeah. He said his son's reaction time is so mad you might not even see it. His son just sits there playing the game, but you see his hands, yeah, the way he's moving. He said he's gonna be like a mad gamer in the future.
Yeah, they're different.
Because of his reaction time.
Yeah.
But the maddest thing is, like we'll talk about racing and whatever, but I feel like athletics is about, as you said, rhythm, consistency, whatever. But someone always comes out and kind of blows that myth. So what, like Michael Johnson came out, and I remember his back was mad straight. He used to run, and he just blew the competition out. And it's like, then Usain came out, and it was a bit of a different technique. He started slow, but it's kind of like, what do you think about that until the technique?
So when coaches look at what's out there, they read all these books, which I think is key. They watch all the videos, and they don't prescribe to what's been put in front of them. They come to their own conclusion, and they
Based on the
take it
person.
and mold it to the person they have in front of them.
Yeah.
So when they said that Michael Johnson was a peculiar running style, yes, but he had a short torso and long legs.
Okay.
So it didn't suit him to run how the book prescribed him to run.
Yeah.
So his coach had to find the best way for him to run, and it involved him having the way he did, upright body, short lever of the arms.
Though, innit?
Because it didn't make sense for Michael Johnson to have his arms up in the loft like Carl Lewis did. So if you notice, Carl Lewis is very textbook.
Yeah.
Whereas Michael Johnson had short levers of the arm and kept them close to his body.
Yeah, and it would just be like that. innit?
Correct. And it allowed his legs to turn.
So if he was to do that, it would affect the
Same
way
with you
his
saying
legs
he's got long legs. It doesn't make sense for you saying to have long arms like Carl Lewis did. He had to keep short levers, which enabled his legs to turn quickly and get on and off the ground.
Now you're saying that, I'm gonna start watching.
Yeah,
it
so
and I'm
now
gonna
you've
see
got that. You'll watch things with a trained eye.
Yeah.
Shelly Ann Fraser, she's
She's a
short,
madness.
but it doesn't make sense. Shelly running the way it's prescribed in textbook. Feet at 90 degrees, dorsiflex, body needs to be upright, arms or fingers need to be at chin height or eye height. It doesn't work for her. So again, her coach, Stephen Francis, or a former coach, found a way based on all the information, looked at all the data, said, this is the best way for you to run.
For you to run, yeah.
And lo and behold, it works.
That means your coach is very, very important.
That's what I was going to say, that like, how, for example, as a coach, for example, like
An educated coach, not any coach.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
'cause I was going to say, because we're hearing examples of athletes that the textbook doesn't suit their running style, that it might have slowed them down. It's like, how would a coach, for example, it's like even if you look
I
at
guess it's experience.
if you look at
Tyson.
boxers, for example, someone will look at AJ and say, listen, when you box, your hands got to be up, you got to be down.
Correct.
And if you look at someone like Mayweather, it's not the same.
No.
He's shoulder rolling, he's doing, do you know
See,
what I'm
his
saying?
dad was good because they saw him as that and they let him evolve
Into that.
into that. He's already naturally got it.
Yeah.
Usain naturally had it. I naturally had it. Gatlin naturally has it. Asafa Powell naturally has it.
And you just need the
Simone
right
Biles
people.
naturally has it. So when they're gifted like that, don't mess with them.
Yeah. You just need someone to nurture what it
Correct.
is. You know what I
You
mean?
don't mess with them. Like you don't mess with the Ferrari or them F1 cars.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, you don't mess with him.
Yeah.
So that's what you do now as well. You Do you train?
You work
kids?
with what they have,
Okay.
and over time, you just follow their path and you kind of guide them.
Yeah.
They kind of dictate where they want to go. You just got to follow and keep them in
Within, yeah.
the boundaries.
So I was going to say, obviously, after all has happened with you and stuff, so you're now coaching kids
Yeah.
in the community, whatever, giving back and whatever.
So I give back, I coach, I talk, I mentor, I do a lot of keynote speaking on many subjects because I relate a lot of what I've gone through in life to people in business and sport.
Yeah.
And I just make it relative. So I'm testament that, mate, I got hung on the cross and buried and left for dead. But did I allow that to be me? I said no. It was too important for me to... Don't get me wrong. Archway, Suicide Bridge. I stood on that bridge and thought,
This is it.
I can't handle this.
But that bridge is high.
And
you
it's
know?
high.
I don't think people
high.
understand how high that bridge is.
When you're driving under it, you look up, you're like, but when you're on top of it looking down, it's high.
There's a lot of people that got up there, you know, start leg swinging.
Yeah, it's high.
It's a high bridge, bro. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I've
And I
seen it.
looked, I looked down, I thought, I'm not brave enough to do that. One, I'll mash up myself, probably land on somebody's car, mash up their life, make a mess, and then that's it, I'm gone.
And your story as well wasn't
It'll
finished.
be gone. It won't finish.
Yeah. You didn't want people to remember you for that.
For that.
You want to make your own.
So I said, right, I'm going to change this. I don't know how I'm going to change it, but once I said I'm going to change this light appeared. I thought, I've come out of this, I can't do this no more. Something just changed.
Where do you think that strength came from? Because you see people like, for example, go Love Island or Big Brother, nothing to something. They come out, they told their celebrities, they get the limelight, and then they just crumble. Whereas you had that and the fall as well. And even in the fall, people still knew who you were.
Yeah.
People still actually probably cared and all that stuff. But you still said, you know what? Nah, I need to change this narrative around me. What do you reckon?
Because I was so used to being told no as a child,
You're like, nah.
I was used to it. But every time I was told no, I still found a way to get what I wanted. And I got what I wanted, but I literally just carried on walking.
Just keep doing it.
I just kept on walking. I was used to doors being in my face. There was times when I was going through my suspension and I got back running. I'm meeting promoters. Meeting promoters are the guys that organise the competition. So like, for you lot, this be football or whatever, you get an opportunity. Man will say, yeah, come to the competition. I've got a lane for you. I'll get to Heathrow Airport. Man say, Dwain, you got to go home. If I invite you, I lose my license to compete, to host this meeting.
Oh, right.
That would happen all the time.
But how though? Because I thought you were out of your suspension now.
So
Or it was
I
like
was-
an unwritten.
I was out of my suspension, but I was
Blacklisted.
blacklisted and I hadn't accepted that I was in the wrong. I was still blaming other people. I was still going on social media. Well, we didn't have social media at the time, but I was still going into the Sun newspaper. Dwain, is it unfair you can't run? Yes, it is unfair. So I was just spitting venom all the time and not realising that every time I spit venom, the newspapers are like, yes.
They were like, yes. You know what I mean?
Yes. I don't get it.
So you're saying the powers that be, although your ban was finished, it was like until this guy admits he ain't running.
The powers that would be understood what I was going through because they've seen this way beyond me.
Yeah.
This has happened to Ben Johnson, Marion, and people before me. But I was a big name, and I was bringing too much heat to the sport, which is what they didn't want. They understood that what I was doing was noble, I guess, but I was bringing too much heat. My saving grace was a guy called Cesar Aga. He's a criminal lawyer by trade. He goes, you're doing this all wrong, mate. You're doing this all wrong. I said, what do you mean I'm doing it all wrong? Because you're doing too much of this. And before I met him, I'd had about 10 agents come up to me and say, yeah, D, I can help you. I can help you. And they just kept on shafting me and stabbing my back all the time. So I learned not to trust even more. So I just went further down into the grave. But yeah, I went down into the grave. I've got to get back up. So I learned that I was trusting people too much.
Yeah.
I was taking my trust and putting it in other people's hands. But those people's hands I was putting my trust in were just going like this and just dropping it on the floor because they didn't trust themselves.
And a lot of them just wanted to get what they wanted and just let you.
So I said, all right, how am I got to learn to trust myself. And I didn't. I didn't trust myself. So I said, shit, I got to sort this out. But I don't know how. So I just went on this journey. I just kept on talking to people, knocking on doors. Can you help me? Oh, yeah, come and help me. They'll shit on me and I'll be back at square one. Until I learned to go and meet people and I'll ask them, what's in it for you? Why are you doing this? And if they couldn't answer me plain and their eyes were shifting, I said, I'm gone. And I had to become brave to start asking people what's in this for you. Because they'll just waffle and just talk, blow wind up my ass. And it came to a point where I just got fed up and I was like, I'm done. And then this guy called Cesaraga came about and he said, come to my house and we talk. I remember going to his house and he's a criminal lawyer, so they do their due diligence and research. I got into his house and we sat on his table and say this is the table. He had a file this high on me. And he sat there and he goes, I know more about you than you know about yourself. I'll research you from when you was born
to where you are now.
To where you are now. If you listen to me, I'll help you. If you don't, leave my house. So I said to him, got brave again. What's in it for you? He goes, you can see I don't need your money. I'm living nice.
You're like, fair enough.
Fair enough. I'm putting my life on the line to help you, and I want to see you back where you should be. And he goes, I'm doing this because I was once a footballer, and I broke my leg, and I would never, ever know how good I could have been. And it haunts me to this day. But you have a chance to get back. And just those words alone, I wish I'd heard from my dad or my stepdad or my mum. But those words just kind of just thought...
It's true.
That felt right. My heart just kind of relaxed. And I thought, okay, how do we do this? And he goes... you need to get rid of that tooth because your appearance.
Oh,
that tooth was cold.
I love my teeth, you know.
That was for the man, then.
Yo.
Oh,
That was me. That represented.
Ah.
But he goes, you've got to get rid of that. You've got to change your image. Yeah. And I said, you know what? Okay. So I had to get rid of the tooth. I had to cool down. And then when press would email me, that I was getting it every day. And Cesar goes, that was his name, goes, Cesar goes, look, read this article, read it out loud. So again, them time I didn't know how to read. And I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I didn't know how to read. Because as a kid, every time we read, and we got the word wrong, we got licks.
So you didn't want to...
So I wasn't comfortable reading. So I read it, put myself through it. I thought, if I'm going to train, I've got to deal with this now. So I read it, stumbled, stumbled, but I got through it. And he goes, what are they asking you to do? Because what are they asking you here? So I read the question. It goes, Dwain, is it unfair you can't run? And I said, yes, it is unfair. And he goes, this is where you're going wrong. You know it's unfair, but you can't say that. So I said, how do I answer it? He goes, I said, read the question again. He goes, Dwain, is it unfair that you can't compete? He goes, you respond by saying, I just want to be an athlete and compete. So I said, why didn't all these other people tell me this before? He goes, they're not trying to help you.
They're trying to get what they want to get.
Goes, Dwain, I have a policy. I don't trust people further than I confront, but I don't trust people. So when he said that to me, I thought, this guy's got a point. So the more I read the articles, the more I listened to these news articles, I'll just read them. And then a journalist phoned and he goes, I'm going to sit right by you and you're going to follow this script. So when they're asking me, Dwain, is it unfair? I just want to be an athlete and compete for my country. But don't you think it's unfair? I just want to be an athlete and compete for my country. But Dwain, is it unfair? I just want to be an athlete and compete for my country. The next day, in the past, my news articles would be 2 spreads. It went to that.
Didn't have nothing to say.
Didn't have nothing to say. So when I clocked it, I was like, I get it. Goes, the trick here, Dwain, is not to answer the question. You answer what you want to say. You say what you want to say.
Yeah. You control the narrative.
So when he took me to a politician, I was like, I got it. So then, once the heat started to dim down on me, more doors opened. I was then able to compete. I was able to then talk. I was able to get myself back up.
Yeah. Because you're not antagonizing the situation. You're not
There's
out there
no
aggravating it. Yeah.
So then meat promoters started to invite me. And then after that, things started to unfold and I just learned. But it took me, 10 years.
Yeah, but even in that year, how did you feel when you started like winning again? Did you feel
it wasn't
weird
the same?
competing?
It wasn't the same.
Because people might be looking at you like,
yeah, I was still getting that. This
yeah.
guy's still benefiting from what he took.
Yeah.
Maybe so. He's this, he's that. And they kept on pressing his buttons, but I had to. I just want to be an athlete. I just want to compete. I just want to be an athlete and compete.
That's the name. That's the title of this podcast.
yeah.
As I'm an athlete, I just want to compete.
I had to stick to the script because every time
Trust
they
the process.
press conferences, they were on me.
But remember as well, you're forgetting as well that even I spoke about in other cases, like for example, Travis Scott, other people. Whenever there's heat on someone, brands just like they don't want a problem. So like even if they want to mess with you, they're like, So by you saying I'm just an athlete, I want to compete, and you kind of dimming that. Now they can be like, we can work.
Sometimes they look at you like help us. Help you. You know, they're looking at you like, we can't tell you what to do, but
I'm just an artist. I just want to perform.
That's it. Stick to that strap line.
I'm just a podcaster. I want a podcast.
That's what I want to pod.
And they got nothing to write about.
That's true.
That's what I'm going to tweet, man. There's a podcast
bro,
I want to tweet, you know what I mean?
He who controls the narrative wins. If they control the narrative, they win. You control the narrative, you win. Because if you think about it, you know what I mean? Your job is to run. Their job is to write bullshit about you. That's what they do. You do your job, they do theirs. And your job is to not give them stuff to talk about.
We're not politicians. We're not designed or engineered or educated to talk like that. So we do what we do.
And there was a point in time where like your name must have been the hottest name on the newspaper. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in terms of whatever stereotype you want, or
with the tooth,
or the black man
winning
tooth, like do you know what I'm saying? Or even just UK athletes, so many different lanes where this story would have resonated with the press.
So obviously, because of the suspension now, obviously everything was gone. Lost everything. All the money I earned, I had to pay back. I'm still paying it back to this day. And we're talking from 2003.
Serious.
Right, it's my wrongdoing, so I hold my hands up to that, and I don't have a problem. It is now part of my mission to make sure I clear my debt. Because I don't want to go to my deathbed with that on my conscience, because I'll just be rolling in my grave. Yeah. And my kids, my family, my academy, which houses over 100 kids, I don't want them inheriting
the drama.
Drama.
Yeah.
So I can handle it, but it's not for them to have to deal with that. So again, when I'm coaching now, I tell them plain. If you're going to make the decision to take drugs, you need to leave. Because not only will you ruin yourself, you ruin the sport, and you ruin what we're trying to build here. So I tell them that now so they know where they stand.
And even now, you are the voice for the kids that you never had.
This is why what happened to me was necessary. Because nobody else would stand up and speak like this.
And they can come to you, and actually they know they can speak to you because there's going to be no judgment. You've been there, done that, literally worn the T-shirt.
And I tell them, you're going to be up against people who are going to cut corners. Now, if you jump on their wavelength of thinking and think, oh, this guy's or this girl's taking drugs, I can't beat them, they win.
Because they take you down with them.
They take you down with them. So I say to them, look, you're going to come up against people who are going to cut corners. It is your job to compete and be the best you can be. And we'll always work on things outside of the sport. So when you're done, you've got a career outside of that. The problem that a lot of sportsmen and women face is when their career's done, they don't know what to do next. So I'm putting in place a process where when they're at the level, they're getting an education. They're being sensible with their money. Because a lot of these kids will go from nothing
to money
to that. And then agents are going to be like, yeah, I want a piece of that. But I'm just making sure their parents are involved in this and they're properly managed. Because a handful of those athletes that we look after will make it. They will make it. Fortunately, we're in a country where we're not overwhelmed with so much talent. We have talent, but we're just not like America. There's 52 states. We just got one little country. So they will make it in this country.
States bigger than this country.
There you go. They will make it. But it's what they do outside of the sport. Because it's not what you do on the track that symbolizes who you are. It's what you do after it. It's what it makes you become. Because I can be great and I've got all these medals, but so what? Once I retire, then what? They're not even they're gold, but they're not gold medals. They just sit and deteriorate and rust. It's what you become off the track that I install in them. Because
it's a whole life ahead of you. Once this stops,
then what are you going to do next?
And some people, and that's where a lot of people, it messes with them mentally because they have nothing but that. So when they stop doing that,
they don't know what to do.
You know what I mean? It affects you mentally. You know what I mean? So it doesn't just affect you. Like with certain people, you know, like, okay, the financial effects are, with certain people, like those are readily visible, but the mental side of things.
Look at Gaza and them boys there. When they stop, what happened? Once, don't get me wrong, when the glory stops, when the cheering stops, you struggle.
That's what Gaza said though. Because when I watched the program, Gaza, brother, do you know how sick he was as a footballer?
Like he was on point.
I didn't realize how good he was.
I didn't realize until I looked back at clips, and then remember he went to Italy.
He was on point.
Remember in them days, Serie A was the best league.
Yeah,
and he went there, and they respected Gaza, and like they knew he was a baller. And some of the stuff he used to do, you see the Rabono penalty he took in like a normal game, like behind the like normal game, you know, wasn't like training. Proper. But he said that the way he grew up, he was not in so much pain, but like the only time he got an escape was when he kicked ball.
Correct.
So that kept him like straight and narrow because he kicked balls every Saturday, Sunday, whatever day he played, he was cool. But the moment it stopped, no more cheering, he was struggling. So he just hit the bottle worse. Like more and more drinking, because there was nothing.
Because I feel like
to
for
fill
me,
that
that's probably when everything is quiet. Where you're like, you're focused on what you do, this is what you love, everything is quiet. And then when you stop.
That's what I said. When I was banned, I couldn't be on my own.
Yeah, because you're like, the noise.
Yeah, it was too much.
The noise.
So it's weird though.
It drowned it out.
It's weird though because it's like the people that we're mentioning now is like they had to go through some form of darkness to become the great people that they are.
Not just the people, bro, it's just, if you think about it, it's people in general. Like, your experiences shape you. They shape who you are. They shape how you deal with things. They shape everything.
But that's why it's a difficult conversation though, because as much as he can say what he's saying to the kids, some kids might still be like, "No, I still want to do my own thing."
This is my point.
Because they don't have similar upbringings where you're like, they don't see
I think Dwain's saying that's fine, but remember, I'm still here to speak to you. And also, if you do want to do that, leave.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate choice.
It's hard because you can tell a man till he's blue in his face, but sometimes you have to feel it in order to know.
Yeah, facts.
What it's like. The other day, my son Rocco, I always refer to him because he's just the rebel in our house. And he was meant to wake up at, obviously, 8 o'clock to go to school. And he didn't set his alarm. So all 8 o'clock, I'm looking at him thinking, he's sleeping, so I'm going to leave him. And it was burning me because as a parent, you don't want your kid to go through that. But I thought, he needs to know what that feels like. 8:30, still in his bed. By this time, he should be in school. So I tapped him. 10 to 9. He should have been in his class. I said, Rocco, what time is it? He goes, oh my God, Dad, phone the school. I said, Rocco, what time was you meant to get up? He goes, oh, Dad, I was tired. So he's got in his head that it's other people's fault and not his. So he's not learnt responsibility yet. So when the fear hit him, I said, now you learn consequences of your actions. I always tell him because he comes home and said, the teacher hates me, she's racist, she's this, is that. I said, Rocco, understand this. Most teachers in schools now do not want to be there. They're overworked, underpaid and tired. And they're dealing with 30 kids just like you. So now you know this. You know how to deal with the teacher. You don't go and rear up in the class.
Yeah, make it easier for them.
You wait till this lesson's over. And if you want to have a conversation with her, you do it when she's calm or he or she is calm. So I give him scenarios and make him understand a person's position and how you act upon that position. So I said, 2 volcanoes won't work. One has to simmer. And you got to be the one to simmer in order to get things resolved. If you go fire to fire with something, that fire's going to be too big and it's going to get under control. It's going to be out of control.
Especially if that person controls the narrative.
100%.
That's funny. I did the same thing to Mia, but it was more to do if she wanted to stay up late. I said, but staying up late is going to affect you at school. She goes, no, it's not. I'll be fine, Daddy. I said, all right, cool. I think one time she went to bed at 11, woke up the next day early, but when she got to school, Daddy, I'm tired.
No, go.
I wonder why. You have to get rest, you know?
Get to class, I don't want to hear
Bro,
it.
it's crazy because...
So you need the rest, man.
Do you remember when I used to work for, I think I told you, the charity, we used to work with the Red Risk guys. So there was these things where we used to do these scenarios where these guys I'm talking about on the roads, they've come from just crazy situations. Guys have been jail, stabbed, there's so many different situations. And I'll never forget the scenario. We did the scenario where the guy goes to, so, you know what I mean, he goes to a bar, so there's a bartender. So he goes to a bar or he's gone to buy alcohol. You know what I mean? The bartender asks for his ID. You know what I mean? So it's literally, how do you deal with this? You know what I mean? So, you know, gone there, ask for your ID or whatever, dude's wilding out. You know what I mean? But like, it's his job to ask you. But like I said, for them, in their mind, it's like, who are you to ask me for this? But you know what I mean? It's such a simple scenario, you know what I mean? Where, you know what I mean? But the dude doesn't have his ID. So the scenario is you don't have your ID or whatever. So the guy's like, you don't have your ID, I can't serve you.
Correct.
So literally, you know what I mean? In terms of consequences. So you are the one that doesn't have your ID. So you are the one that has to deal with this a certain way. So maybe you speak to the guy better, you know what I mean? Or you plead with him or whatever, you know what I mean? But for them, the initial thing is, are you crazy? Like, you know what I mean? For them, it's literally, they would react negatively. Because it's literally like, you know what I mean? What man doesn't look my age or whatever? It's like, his job is to ask A, that is what he is paid to do.
Correct.
He cannot do anything but A. So you have to work with him.
A.
You know what I mean? You have to work with him. Your job is to say, you know what, bro? You know what I mean? you know what I mean, see I'm not underage or whatever. Unfortunately, you know what I mean, there's 9 out of 10 chance that he's still going to say no. But like I said, at the end of the day, you can't be vexed with him because, you know what I mean, in terms of, you know, you are the one that doesn't have. But for them, they didn't understand how it's not going their way. You're like, you are the one that doesn't have your ID. You can't be mad at anyone but yourself. But a lot of them had been in situations where they get in, and you know what I mean, they'd come in and they'd have to bring in stuff to sign and so on. They don't have it, so they can't get their money or they can't get this, and they're mad at everyone else. But you are the one that doesn't have it. You're supposed to come here a certain times a week to get this and this. You have not come that number of times. The only person you can be mad at is you. But correct. They're mad at everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's affecting your accommodation. You know, certain people, like, if you don't come here a certain time, a certain number of times, if this and this doesn't done, you're going to be homeless.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you have no home.
And I think a lot of that contributes to their environment.
Yeah. And this is it. So we had to teach them, you know what I mean? So we had to teach them how to be accountable, for them to look at situations and think, oh, this is my fault. If I don't come here or whatever, it's nobody else's fault. But a lot of them didn't understand.
If they're not told that, how are they going to learn?
Exactly. And this is what it was. So when we started to have those conversations, but they come from homes where nobody's, like you said, nobody has these conversations with them. And a lot of these kids, they come from homes where, you know, in school, see the conversation you had with your son where your son will say this and this about school and you tell him, no, you did this, this and this. There's those parents that go to school whiling. Don't talk to my child like that and this and this and this, or whatever. The parent has no idea what the interaction is like. So you've now taught your kid that he can do whatever he likes at school. There are no consequences. And it's fine. And most parents are okay with it when, you know, it's in school, your kid does what he likes and he gets away with it. But what happens when he turns 16 and he takes that out of school into the real world? Now he's in the real world
that we have.
Exactly. So now they've left school and you've taught him that he can get away with whatever he wants his whole life. Now he's in the real world and he's doing things where the consequences are much greater now. Now he doesn't understand, you know what I mean? What you mean no? What do you mean I can't take people's things?
That goes back to your initial point in the beginning where you said that a lot of us don't really want to be seen. We just kind of just want to cut through.
Yeah, we do.
There's stuff, there's, like you said, there's certain things you'll do at home where probably the consequences are mum or dad. Whereas outside, police.
Yeah.
Losing friends.
But the parents, you know what I mean, don't regulate them.
I talk openly, and my wife knows, because I had a bag of women when I was with her. But a lot of the time, I didn't want too much attention on me because I had a bag of gal. I didn't want all the attention on me because I was thinking, I'm creeping anyway.
Yeah.
And if the paparazzi, this is how much...
You know what that feels like?
You know... But I talk openly, I'm not saying this is what I do now, but back in the day, I didn't want all that attention on me because I'm like, all right, I'm creeping, I'm moving around, I don't really want to be in the spotlight, but I want...
You wouldn't survive today. Social media.
No.
What?
You would have got bagged week
Dwain
one. Week one, Dwain would have got
Chambers
bagged.
and his black taxi.
You know what? It's funny, Tazer.
Love rat.
It is funny because there wasn't, you know what I mean, an athlete. You might know, when I described the scenario, no. Where's a picture of him and he was posing with someone and he had the makeup all over his face. You know,
yeah.
And he was kissing the white woman. And you know, you look at him like, your wife ain't no white woman. You know what I mean? Like, if you see the picture and he was posing.
Technical for man now. You
no,
can't.
it was,
the things we done then, we could have never.
So that foundation ain't
No, it was hilarious.
Shade,
You know, you look at the picture, you look
But
at
you know what's mad? I learned, I think we were told on the pod, innit? Basically, there's a certain chemical or product in makeup, that reflects whenever flash hits it. So that's why when you take a picture in the dark, you always see the makeup on a man's face or the gal's face because it reacts off it reflects off that.
No, if you looked at it, the look on
his
his face.
Even certain girls' makeups, you look at them like, if you were in person, you look at them, you're like, oh, your face looks alright. Let them take a picture, you see all the lines here.
And it looks mad.
The bronzer, innit?
Oh, yeah.
The bronzer.
No camera behind me.
So that means he was lip syncing.
So that's what I was saying. So he didn't, you know what I mean? You're like, he must have, you know.
And he got caught with the flash as well, his peak.
Yeah. So that's what I was like, the flash hits you and you're like.
Man said,
that ain't doing nothing.
I love, but he won't do it. Man Simpson done that. I tried to come back to party. Man said, yo, what you man saying? Man said, yo.
You know what I mean? And it's funny, 'cause as a fan, it's your one picture. You're like, boy. You know, you're like, boy. You know, you're like, yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, thank God the Instagram and everything.
No, but I'm saying,
Go back already.
You backed already?
No bad.